an ES up as the chart when I try to get that screen sharing going. We are live on YouTube as well. So, like I said, we are exactly 1 week out from Santa invading your home, sliding down the chimney. If that happens and you get scared, call ICE. He's technically an illegal immigrant. All right. Let's go. What do we got happening here? I just wanted all of YouTube to hear my fantastic Santa ICE joke. All right, that's yesterday's SPY plan. Let's get our trade plans lined up here. And then we'll get cooking. My apologies for the slow start this morning. Again, holidays are always hectic. We were out doing Christmas lights last night, and then that led to a dinner, late dinner, and then that led to me struggling to get moving this morning as it goes. All right, those three are up. Let's get our Thursday ones. This will be our last touch point on those. Up. Neo, and what was our other Thursday plan? I forget already. Come on, Trading View. Oops, wrong one. Dash. Oh, we also did do USAR, actually. That was last Thursday, too. Damn. Done a lot of trade plans over the last week. Good shit. And I know several of them have been slapping. So let's go. I'm trying to talk like the kids. All right. Cool. All right, let's dig into it. Let's talk through some of this stuff. What are we seeing here on the markets? I also want to check what this CPI reading is, although one has to wonder how cooked are those numbers, but we can't control that. We just have to use the data that's given to us in these situations. Is that side in? Whatever, doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. Close. United States save. Which, by the way, if you all aren't using this trading economics calendar for your trading economic data points and info to know what's coming up, highly recommend it. I'll go ahead and post this in the chats just so you all have it. Make your life a little easier. All right, so what did core inflation come in at? Lower than the consensus. We have no previous reading though, right? So that's kind of the interesting thing here with the government shutdown. We do not have kind of a complete set of data points to plot. I mentioned this way back when the government was shut down and said, we're not releasing the data. We're not going to release the data after the fact. We're just going to pick up whenever we reopen the government. Not the greatest approach in my view, but it is what it is. So, you know, readings came in better than usual, but it's definitely a sort of weird set of circumstances for data to be coming out with no previous data readings on the books, as far as your year over year, month over month, all that good stuff. So, you know, we'll see how the market is reacting to it. So let's go there. It looks like we're trying to pop above this downtrend, although we've seen this before. This is a higher time frame downtrend. So again, we need to look at those higher time frames. So this is kind of how I've been looking at that downtrend. Again, we did see a sweep above, tapped this 68.8175, rejected that. Looks like we're trying to pop above again, but really we need a daily close, I would say, for us to confirm that we're shaking off this downtrend. So, you know, just be a little bit cautious. Don't chase things that seem to be moving heavily this morning, as we could easily see a lot of this pre-market move reverse once we get into the live cash trading session. So, but overall, looking good. Bearish momentum starting to curl up here on the hourly, bouncing off VWAP, so there are some good signs there. I think really the interesting test is going to be this test coming up here at 68.4325. We did have several tests and signs of support right at that level, so the question becomes, is that support going to act as resistance as we look at reversing this move back to the upside? The other thing that I would say is We are also going to start tapping into some sell pressure right there from an NTS perspective. So kind of a little bit of a confluence right around that 68.43, 68.45-ish. I'm guessing that probably is 46. That could, again, send things back to the downside pretty quickly. So, again, just remain cautious. We do have the 200 crossing below the 333 there. That's also a bearish sign. But again, that doesn't mean that we're automatically going to dump at the open or anything like that. So again, just be cautious. Let some of this pre-market data get digested. Don't jump into anything too close to the open is the best advice I can give you. And then just wait for the setups to come to you. Be patient and you will be profitable. All right, so let's get to some trade plan recaps and then we'll start to work on some new ticker requests. So if you guys have any you want me... Yeah, could be. Could wind up being a big fake out on this pump pre-market. So just be cautious, wait for the setups, wait for confirmation. Patience will pay. So let's get to these ticker reviews or trade plan reviews, and then we'll work on some new ones. So if you all have any tickers you want me to take a look at and work on some plans for this morning, please go ahead and start dropping those in the chats. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to start dropping those in the chat. I'll try to get through as many tickers and as many questions as I possibly can in the time we have together this morning. All right, let me just remind folks, live stream is up. Whoops, is up. Getting ready to start work on trade plans. Come join us. All right, so let me get back to the chats. Meta Striker wants to take a look at Meta. We can take a look at that. What's up, Turtle Trader? Congratulations on having the cutest avatar in the room right now. Investment manager, second best with the weird bunny with the glasses. All right, so let's roll. We have Roku. Roku did give us a break to the downside, pretty much tapped PT2 for puts. What was that? 106.47, 30 cents off. I wish I had had that level a little closer, probably a little bit closer to the top of this gap level back there. I was looking at more of this sweet bottom right there that pushed things higher. So maybe I'm wrong, or maybe we just bounced a little bit early, but ultimately got us very close to PT2 before bouncing, still on the put side of the plan, and now below PT1, still heading into the open. What's up, Panikin? Good to see you. I feel honored that you're asking for my input. I will definitely take a look at now. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Great to see you. One of the best SPX alerters I've seen in Xtrades in my personal experience. So props to you, my friend. So happy to have you on the team. So like I said, Roku played out for a couple of downside targets and TS Confluence down there. So not surprised we got a little bit of a bounce. Took us back up to the put entry there pre-market yesterday and heading back toward the downside here. So as we always say, make sure that you're booking those profits. No, I was 100% sincere about it. I promise. Back tested that put entry level, took us back down. We're back down below PT1. So as always, make sure that you're moving your stops up with these trade plans. We may not always hit these levels exactly. And I've mentioned this before, but it's probably been a while. Make sure that you're taking your profits on approach to the level versus waiting for the level to react potentially. Because that will give you much better fills, especially if you're trying to get out quickly on like a market order or something like that. And again, be careful with market orders if the bid ask is too wide, because that can really eat into your profits. But make sure that you're selling on approach. We don't have to hit these levels to the penny, although I try to plan them to the penny. If you're getting within a reasonable range of the level, go ahead and start taking profits. Because it's going to be a lot easier to get a fill as you're moving down toward your target versus trying to get a fill as you're moving back up away, and then you wind up chasing that fill until you've given up a big chunk of profits going the opposite direction. So just something I probably haven't mentioned in quite a while, so kind of that looks like a good opportunity to revisit that little strategy, if you will. Silver pumping pretty hard, gapped up over our call entry. I was waiting for a back test yesterday to potentially jump into some silver, and that just didn't happen. Took us all the way to PT1. We did top out right at it. What was our high of the day yesterday? 60.64. We were 4 cents off on that rejection. Tough miss for me. But PT1 looking good. Bulls have the momentum here. They've got buying pressure down below, now giving us a nice confluence at the call stop loss average down level. Has a nice uptrend that it's riding. So silver looking mega bullish. Not surprised as these interest rate cuts come in and start to devalue the dollar, and the Fed prints more money, devaluing the dollar. Smart investors and money managers are not going to keep their essentially cash in cash. They're going to keep it in something else that appreciates and has stability, like gold, silver, precious metals, etc. So again, not surprised to see these moving up strongly still with all of what's going on in the global economic scenario. I guess is probably the right way to say it. I wouldn't call it a crisis, but it's definitely weird times. All right, NVIDIA we did on Tuesday, last Tuesday, or no, this past Tuesday, I should say. Gave us the breakdown, very quick back test right at the open, and then pushed down, turned PT1 from support to resistance with a quickness, and then dumped down further to PT3 along with the rest of the markets, or actually probably as part of what dragged the markets down yesterday. Ultimately trying to find, and did find support there at PT3 for puts after dipping a little bit below. Now it's pushing back up and retesting that PT1 as resistance. So we got a nice breakdown, back test of resistance and dump. It would be very interesting to see if we can break through this 174.58 level going into the day today. Also has some confluence of resistance overhead here on the 15-minute with the 200 SMA inside that sell pressure, and the 333 right there at the key sell pressure. So again, be very careful chasing any pumps today. This could be a tough one to trade given the data that we got this morning and how that's moving things. All right, NEO we did last Thursday. So we'll be retiring, or actually the alerts retired on this one yesterday evening. Overall, hasn't given us an entry anywhere, but sometimes the best plans keep you out of a trade that isn't going anywhere. Did test our call entry there, but strong and clean rejection. Ultimately sent it back down into this kind of no trade zone between 479 and 525. I will note that 525 has the 333 SMA sitting there as confluence overhead. So if we do get back up to that 525, look for a potential, and I would say in the near future, because that 333 is going to continue to move. Watch for a potential double top setup with that confluence of resistance there here on the hourly. Dash gave us a break to the upside after our plan from last Tuesday, took us all the way to PT1 and has struggled to go any higher since then. Did give us a couple more dip buy opportunities if you wanted to take them, dipping down a little bit below the call entry, then gives us a break back above, takes us back to PT1, and PT1 again, now down to the stop loss average down and catching the 200 SMA there. Does have some bearish momentum from yesterday's move down, but Dash could be an interesting one if it can break over 223.70 and continue through that bearish momentum. There's a little bit of it left there, sitting right around 224.44. I think that does open up a pretty good opportunity, at least to get a, I don't know, what, fourth test, probably you could call it, of this 230.05 level that has been clean resistance. So again, remember something else that we say often when we're doing these plans, sometimes PT1's all you get, right? So when you're getting to PT1, make sure you are locking some profits and moving up your stops. If you're only writing one contract, just make sure that you're moving up your stops, and feel free to move those up quite aggressively, in my opinion. USAR, last but not least, and then we'll get to some new trade plans. I know we had a lot to cover this morning, and I got a little bit of a tardy start, so my apologies. But USAR has been breaking down again, kind of following the markets. Another clean PT1 rejection there. Ultimately sent us down below the put entry level. Fought with this PT1 a little bit on both sides of it before it ultimately decided to break down on that rejection candle right off PT1. Took us down to PT2 plus. Now it's trying to bounce, but running right into the peak of that bearish momentum. So this could get slapped down, especially if it does pull back below 13.99 and 200 SMA there overhead just below 1502. So could be like a interesting way to look at reverse engineering some of these levels. If we pull back below 13.99, you could look for that move to complete down to 12.53. Set your stop there at 15.02. That's better than a 1-to-1 risk reward. I can tell by just looking at it. So that's kind of a thought on how to potentially play this one. For the rest of that move to the downside, again, wait for confirmation, be cautious, all that good stuff. All right, so let's go. Let's get to some of these ticker requests. We had Meta. Metaberg, Zuckerberg. I'm going to start calling him Metaberg. Or call Meta Metaberg. I don't know. We'll figure it out. All right, so let's see. Meta. I feel like Meta is going to be one of those slang words the kids are going to use soon. That's so meta. All right, let's take a look at this. Pick for a few months, hold shares only. Let me circle back to you on that. I do have a couple of ideas, but I want to check those charts. I do want to get these trade plans underway though, so let's get working on those. I'd like to see where ASTS is at this morning. I cut my shares for nice profits. Gosh, what was it around when it lost 74 support that it had finally broken out above. Dipped down towards some buy levels yesterday, but I'd be interested to see what it's doing here pre-market this morning with that data release and the markets moving the way they are this morning. But yeah, they're getting ready to launch their Bluebird 6 satellite. They've got all kinds of contracts lined up with like every mobile provider there is, or at least all the big names, doing stuff internationally. I think they are and the satellite they're getting ready to launch is going to be like the largest ever launch. It's something like 24,000 square feet or some shit, I think. Crazy. I appreciate it. All right, so don't love these little sweepy moves and premature bounces right there. Just makes me wonder. And that rejection right there. This level hasn't shifted a little bit here recently. I mean, it is getting some clean tests there too. It could just be a little bit of a range or a zone in here that I didn't have the other level for yet. But over this, I also don't love NTS sitting kind of right on top of it there, but if it gets going, it'll get going, and I don't think NTS will ultimately stand in the way. We're at 655.04 here pre-market. Kind of thinking, yeah, I don't want to give too aggressive or early of an entry either. All right, let's take our, at some point you got to shoot your shot, right? Miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky. I would keep, actually let's use some of this historical data to help out here. Yeah, I'm kind of eyeballing a fairly tight stop loss on this. Yeah, for sure. I confirmed it right there. 657.97. So I like where that's going to sit. Now the question is, it's an interesting little top, prior support here locally and recently. Yeah, I'd add that in. It's a first price target. Second price target, I have a feeling it's going to be around 676.05. Let's see. Kind of a crazy volatile post ER price action there, so let's go back a little further. I just want to see some cleaner price action on this. Resistance, yeah, broke above, back tested that as support. Kind of like that on the current price action too. Third target. Don't want to sell ourselves short on this. Third target. Yeah, I was eyeballing that on the previous or more historical. So it's kind of a tight PT1 and PT2, and then I do think we open up room to the upside. Just looking at that 687.12. Yep, that helps confirm it right there for me. All right, cool. So that's the upside sorted. Let's see what we want to do with this downside if it does decide to pull back and break down. Level that I don't have yet right here. 647.95, call it 648 if you like round numbers. That'll give us a good put entry. Stop loss. Where does that have us at? We might be right up against it here pre-market. Yeah, I think that's actually a little bit lower. Not much. Like right there. All right. A little bit of a wider stop there. Clearly, first target down here at 639.89. Yeah, or yeah, for sure. Right there. 631.63. And ultimately down to I don't know what that looks like. Shows that as support. Yeah, make that slight adjustment to this level. All right, that does it. Let's go. So what are we looking for? 662, whoops, 44, 672, 676, 12. What did I catch wrong there? Oh, typoed backwards. That's why. Got it. Cool. All right. Stop loss average down. 677. Put in trade 647.95. 631, 63, and 604.43. Stop loss at 654.60. Perfect. Okay. Let's clean this up real quick. There we go. That makes it easy to see. All right. This is your Meta live stream plan. Get this posted in the elite chat so we can grab our message link. Come on. Here we go. Here's Meta. Boom. Copy link. Oops, I don't need that. There we go. Right. Let's get our alerts set. See this chart. Get it till, oops, what am I doing? Wrong way. It's Wednesday, close of business. And let's get this locked into our template so we don't lose it. Thursday live stream plan 1. Yes, let's go. All right, so what are we looking for here on Meta? We are looking for a break over 662.44 that should bring targets at 670.82, 676.05, and 687.12 with a stop loss average down at 657.97. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 647.95 that should bring targets at 639.89, 631.63, and 624.43 with a stop loss average down at 654.60. Those are your Meta live stream plans. Let's go. All right, let's get to now for my homie Panicking. His name is Panicking, but he's never panicking. I get it. Grown. Now split has occurred. Yeah, let's adjust those drawings. I don't even know the last time I looked at now. This is ServiceNow, I think, right? It's the name of the company. Yeah, ServiceNow. Been a while since I've looked at this one. Where are all my levels? Probably way down below? No? There's drawings on the chart. All these horizontal lines, where are they? Oh, because it's split. That's why. I said adjust the drawings. Well, it didn't do that. Doesn't matter. All right, that's cool. We'll work up new ones. Anyway, it's been that long. Probably time to update them anyway. Yeah, that split's going to make it interesting for sure. Allows a lot more access to buyers. As you should, LB. He has fantastic insights, excellent alerts. Panicking the mannequin. That sounded kind of creepy because it came out like mannequin. All right, let's go. Let's go higher time frame to start. That's where I always like to start if we're going to do new levels. Where's this sitting at? It's got to be some support and resistance around here. Yeah, I think that level's sitting right there. Yeah, it's probably sitting right here. Very close to that. We'll make some slight adjustments to this as we look at the lower time frames. Here's our all-time high. Always like to know where that's sitting. Probably not going to see much, yeah, up in that range here on the weekly. Interest, yeah, that's definitely one to watch. Same thing here. Come on, move for me, mouse. Like trying to make the tiniest little adjustment. Mouse doesn't recognize. All right, well, no, I take that back. Let's get one more weekly support in here. Just want to make sure we've got everything that's in the foreseeable range, if you will. Yeah, this is probably a little bit higher. Right about there. I'll be surprised if 129.17 doesn't hold. All right, let's go. Interesting double bottom, lots and lots and lots of support at this level. Oh yeah, I see a little bit of resistance. I think we could add that. There may be something here, but it's not a daily level, so we'll wait for that. What about that rejection? Not showing us anything. Interesting flip right there. Yeah, there is a little level hanging out in there. Interesting little choppy ranges in here, but there's definitely some support and resistance. I think sitting right about, move this up with the keyboard since the mouse doesn't want to respond. There we go, that looks good. At least I think it looks good. There. Yep, I'll take that. And yeah, all right. Hang on, I want to check this very toppy looking price action right here. It's not leading us to anything. Yeah, actually, sorry, don't know how I missed this. It's definitely a level right there. Okay, cool. Let's go. Definitely looking a little bear flaggy. Down, not a big after hours, extended hours mover. So let's look at this on the regular hours chart. Yeah, for sure a level there. I know it may seem like I'm being a little bit thorough and obsessive about these levels, but if you got the wrong level, things are just a little bit off, you can sometimes get pulled into a trade that you probably shouldn't be in yet. So, taking a little bit of time here, but I think we're getting close to being ready to cobble together a trade plan here. Just want to check, make sure we're being thorough. Call me Justin, because I like to be thorough. Another bad JT joke. And another one. I feel like I need DJ Khaled for that one. I gotta do something to spice things up here. Nobody wants to just sit here and listen to me breathe into the microphone while I obsess over support and resistance. All right, cool. Let's go. I think we've got some pretty good levels in place. Big gap overhead to fill. Let's take a look at this. Let's throw our, whoops, NTS on, oh, that's why it's hidden. All right. Strip club for stocks. What would my stripper name be? That's the question that's currently running through my head now. Coming to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen. Or actually, gentlemen and gentlemen. I don't know. Sometimes there's ladies in the strip club. It's a thing. Yeah, true. I mean, that aren't on stage. I've heard of it happening. I don't know if I've ever seen like a dude in there with his chick. Although I don't go to a lot of strip clubs at all, so it's not a bachelor party or some function where somebody else is asked to go to a strip club. I generally try to avoid that stripper life. Nothing against exotic dancers though. Just better ways to spend my money. But yeah, I need to think about this. What would my stripper name be? I feel like I would not be a very good stripper. So I've seen it. There you go. Of course, Thug in the club. Yoda knows all about it. Good to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, so I'm thinking of that. I don't know, actually. Hang on. I'm getting very wishy-washy on this downside plan. Give me a sec to... You're distracting me with stripper talk. It's making it very challenging to concentrate. Let's see. All right. Like I said, you gotta take a shot at some point. Do we just share the stop loss or do we set a separate stop loss? Let's see what happens if we throw these back on. I might clear it up. I generally like to look at the extended hours chart, but that would put us below that downtrend that started there. I would expect that move to give us some more momentum. Should get past that dip there, but I'm getting very, like I said, wishy-washy on this downside plan. Don't like to be that way. Let's dial it in here. Yeah, okay. All right. Let's set this up. Yeah, right about here for a downside target. I would adjust the stop also. Interesting bottom there. Very close in the mix of some prior resistance. Yeah, I would look at that as a PT2. So I think I've decided as I was figuring this out. Hi, Heather, Jiggle. Check out my assets. I was thinking of something since I feel like I would be like a bad stripper. Like a good stripper name would be like Porsche, I would be like Kia if I was a stripper. Or like a good stripper name would be like Cinnamon. I would be like Nutmeg or something like that. Paprika. Something that makes zero sense. I feel like that's what I would go with. All right, let's take a shot at PT3. Actually, I think this daily level is just a hair off. Make that slight adjustment, call it PT3. Fun times in the live stream this morning. I hope you guys enjoyed your almost hour of comedy and charts all combined into one big fun mess. All right, let's go. But again, if I didn't have a sense of humor, I'd go crazy. Sometimes you have to find the silver linings or the funny moments when things are bleak. Not that things are bleak for me, but I've certainly had those times that I've had to find a way to just laugh that shit off. All right, cool. Let's go. Looks good, so let's square this away. There we go. That looks like a trade plan to me. That'll tell us when we put this in the mix. Get it all in the mix. Here is the now live stream plan. And Xtrades chat. Actually, I've already got that in this clipboard right here. This is oops. All right, that gives me the message link I need. Set our alerts, but first let's save our template before I forget. Alerts. Looks like I've done this before, doesn't it? All right, so let's talk through this one last time. What are we looking for here on now besides profits? We're looking for a break over 162.19. That should bring us close to 166.39. I'm just noticing here on the hourly, those SMAs hanging out right there. Be a little bit mindful of those and where they're sitting as we play our way up here on the hourly chart. That's the 200 and the 333. So we're looking for a move up to 166.39, assuming we can break through those or at least get a sweep above them up to that level, with further targets at 170.53 and 174.38, with a stop loss average down at 159 flat. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 154.91. That should bring us targets at 151.40, 148.55, and 145.81, with a stop loss average down at 157.56. That is your now live stream plan. All right, let me take a quick look at what ASTS is doing. It did bounce off that 61.52 level. I was a little skeptical with the way the markets were looking yesterday, so I did not jump back in. This was my level to watch up here to buy the dip. So if we can break back above and hold above 65.31, could be a good spot to go ahead and add some shares on this one. I'd keep my stop down here at 61.52. Stop loss average down, so you can add back to that position. If it breaks below, get rid of that shit. Wait for a lower level to buy in at. But again, I like ASTS's long-term horizon. So a few months, they got a lot of launches coming up. They expect to ramp that up going into next year. So definitely one to watch for you, new trader, in my personal opinion. And I am also fully capable of being wrong. All right, we were 10 minutes out from market open with that data dropping this morning. I'm sure SPY is going to look a little nutty, so I want to have some extra time to work on that plan. I want to thank you all so much for joining me and for the entertainment this morning. It was excellent, Panicking. I really appreciate you being here. Good to see Pip Fesser in the mix too. I think we've got a future top earners prospect in the making in this gentleman. So good to have you. I'm assuming gentleman, could be a lady. I don't know. But they've been providing some excellent insights and charts in the chat. So I was DMing with them a little bit yesterday. Looking forward to suggesting them for a move up the ranks. So thank you all so much. We will be back next Tuesday at 8:30. We will not be back next Thursday at 8:30 since it will be Christmas Day. So we will have one more of these before Christmas where I can wish you all a very Merry Christmas. We can talk more shit about Santa and all that fun stuff. So until then, as we always say here on Chart Talk Live, brought to you by Xtrades. Plan your trades, trade your plans. Remember, we're looking for profits, not perfection. So keep your wins big, keep your losses small. Go out there, book those green trades. Have a fantastic day. I'll see y'all in the chats, and I'll see you back here next Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. flat.